I'd just like to note that this episode will contain major spoilers for the film I Am Thinking of Ending Things, so if you're interested, watch that first.
All right, apparently we are live.
Welcome to the In the Garden podcast. This is Gideon Marlatt, and with my co-host Jake Hughes. Can we start that over? That was just butcher.
You want to try that sentence?
Butcher.
I thought you were gonna say I'm here with my hero over here.
I'm here with my hero.
I'm just like, aw.
I'm here with my man crush Jake.
Yes.
Actually, we
Can
should
that be
start.
the opening now,
Yes,
please?
let's do that.
Yeah, I'm here with my man crush.
I'm here
I'm
with
just
my man
gonna
crush.
gloss over it like I didn't even notice it. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, let's-
Okay.
I already said apparently we're live, so go for it.
Welcome to the In the Garden podcast. This is Gideon Marlatt, and I'm here with my man crush Jake Hughes.
Hey guys. This is great. Thank you for calling me that. All right,
Yeah,
well,
anytime.
today in the studio we are joined once again by the one and only Maria Hanson.
Hello.
How you doing, Maria?
So good. How are you?
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Good.
We are
but
also
let's we forget. Yeah. Okay. It sounded like you were not going to do it.
I was
so
going to finish
gonna
my
do it.
sentence.
Okay.
We
Go
have
ahead,
another
fine.
we have another guest. We brought on
Carter Brown.
Carter Brown.
Hey,
Do you
guys.
want to conduct this interview?
Anyway,
or-
folks, we have another guest today, Carter Brown.
Hey,
you.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, do you want to tell us about your
Wow.
I think they've
I don't
already
think
heard
we've
enough
ever
about me
had-
at this
I
I
point.
don't
think
think
I
we've
know you.
ever had a
I don't
guest
know you.
introduce
Take over.
another guest.
Yeah, Maria's just like, this
I'm
is
just taking
stupid.
over.
We're going to take over.
Yeah. Anyway,
No,
we
what-
have Carter Brown again with us, our producer.
Oh, yeah.
We have another movie review for you guys. So, we've done a lot of movies that we really, really like.
Oh, yes.
That's been like the majority of them. We did Cars 2, which he didn't like, but I loved. But we're going to do today
And-
something a little different. We're going to do a movie that only one person in the entire world likes. All right? This is going to be a bit of a spicy episode because our house watched this as a group. We got everybody in the house to watch this.
No, we didn't.
Why did you do
we
that?
really?
And we did.
No,
Yeah.
I
it
warned
was
in the
only
house?
you, me, and Malachi.
I warned you.
That's Judah's seen it. Gideon's seen it. Tim's seen it.
Tim saw it?
Ian didn't see it. Tim did see it, I think.
I'm gonna get
Well, he saw
yelled.
a
Do they all
section.
know that it was because of me? I'm
It
gonna
was-
get. I'm
yeah?
gonna get mad.
Yeah, that was
yelled at.
profusely
at school.
stated
Well,
when we were watching. Like,
maybe you
who
can- maybe you can edit
suggested
that.
this movie? And we
Yeah.
were like, Maria.
Yeah. Maybe you can edit that out, but
Will do.
well, a good majority of our house has seen this movie, and let's just say we had some questions.
Many.
I say that because you were the one that recommended the movie, and we operated off the assumption that you recommended it because you liked it.
I do.
You do like it. Okay.
I do like it.
Phew, good.
Okay.
No,
So-
I actually hate it, and that was
Yeah.
a prank.
Love it.
We legit thought that, you
would
were
be a-
pranking us
That
into
would be a
watching
good
it.
prank.
I did not like it. I mean, okay. It wasn't like my favorite movie ever the first time I saw it. I was like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. But I love weird movies.
Okay.
So that's just kind of my thing.
That's
So I've
clear.
seen it like 4 times and I read the book.
Yeah.
Because I keep forcing people to watch it with me.
I've seen it twice thinking that it would make sense the second time, but I came away with even more questions.
Well, I'd
But
love
let
to
me
hear them.
let me start off by reading a summary.
Yeah, I was going
This
to
is
say.
I will say this summary is kind of vague as contrary to what actually happens in the movie, but here it is. Full of misgivings, a young woman travels with her new boyfriend to his parents' secluded farm. Upon arriving, she comes to question everything she thought she knew about him and herself. That is very vague and
Did we say the
baseline.
name of the movie?
Oh yeah, we should say
We
the
did
name.
not say the
We
name
should say the name of the movie.
Wait, really?
No, we did not.
Oh, wow.
We've fallen into this trap many times.
We just make
did
the
it-
audience guess.
Yeah,
This
we did. We
movie.
did it when
Yes.
when we reviewed RRR. We didn't say the title of the movie until like halfway through.
Oh, you're totally right.
Legit?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
wow.
great.
Hey, that's good suspense,
well,
I guess.
Yeah, this is great suspense. So the movie we're talking about today is a movie called I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which off the bat sounds like a
Suicide?
movie that we wouldn't exactly want to watch, but it was it was recommended to us. We did our homework. We watched the movie.
Yes.
And with a film with that kind of depressing title, you would expect it's a movie about suicide. sort of things, but you're
sort
yeah.
of things.
At least that's
But it's not.
kind of.
Suicide and the
is.
like
But
thereof.
at the same time, it's not. But at the same time, kind of is. Throughout the beginning of the movie,
Is it?
the title is. It makes you think that it's just talking about the relationship between the boyfriend and the girlfriend.
Yeah.
The girlfriend is the one that's pretty much the narrator of the story, and she keeps reiterating, "I'm thinking of ending things," and it's played off so that you think it's about the relationship.
Right.
But at the end, it climaxes to it actually being about suicide. I don't know if you got that from it.
I did not
could
get it the
just-
first time I watched
Yeah.
it. That took me the second time to get. To be
yeah.
fair.
This is a Netflix film too.
I
So
think. Okay, I know. I won't say that because I just. I don't
as
know.
you can see, we have
I
some
got, like-
questions.
yeah, I got the old man just having a breakdown, but that was about it.
Yeah.
I didn't quite.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah. The ending
having
shot.
a breakdown,
yeah.
but
The ending shot is his truck covered in snow. So he never
every-
he never left the school, and it's kind of inferred that he killed himself from hypothermia.
Especially
From
since she just
hypothermia.
asked, like,
Yeah.
just before, how long it takes to die of hypothermia. And then the next scene is literally,
Him
Oh, she does
dying
ask
of
that?
hypothermia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him
Okay.
going crazy. Yeah.
Basically the entire movie is just in his head.
Mhm.
Like it's his own narrative as he's cleaning the school.
Yeah. Can you explain like the premise
Sure.
of the movie? Because I feel like you would have a better grasp of it. You've seen it 4 times.
Yeah.
I've seen it twice. Gideon's seen it more times than he likes to admit,
admit.
which
Okay.
is once.
I mean, simply put as I can. Also take this with a grain of salt because I haven't read anything about this film. This is
Sure.
just my own understanding of it. So it's this old man who's a janitor at a high school, and it's the high school he used to go to.
Yeah.
And he is like the entire movie is just different iterations of himself. Like he's just making up a story. Where Jake is the main character of the film, is his younger self. And the girl who remains nameless throughout the film, which is your first clue here, is just a made up character that is part of himself that he's just like making up. And so then that's why you have like cuts throughout the film over and over again of like a story will happen with Jake and this girl, and then it'll cut to the older guy, the older janitor cleaning the school. So he's just walking through the school, coming up with this story, basically trying to figure out whether he should kill himself or not.
And
Yeah.
hold on, is this because I thought my first intention, or inclination, sorry, not intention, was that this guy was kind of just revisiting memories. Like I thought this was like what had happened to him in the past, and he was just kind of revisiting, kind of wishing he did things differently.
I kind of got a similar inclination just
Yeah.
because, I thought that the young woman throughout the story was supposed to be like a representation of every relationship that he's had. And, every girl that he's had to bring home to meet his parents, and, it going kind of, it goes awry. It goes kind of creepy. All the creepy aspects of the film kind of take place at the parents' house.
Yeah.
And well, the majority of them do at least. And I kind of got the sense like halfway through the film, like, okay, her name has changed at least like 3 times so far.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get the sense that she may not actually be a character,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe just like a manifestation or, just some idea in the flesh sort of situation. Am I correct in
I'm
thinking
sure
that?
that's part of it. My first inclination is that she's a representation of
Okay.
his like suicidal thoughts.
Okay.
Because she's the one who's saying I'm thinking of ending things.
Right.
So I sort of got it. Because Jake is a very passive character in the movie, actually. Like he's just kind of there. And so I took it more as she is a representation of the janitor's suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
And I'm sure part of it has to do with previous relationships or types of relationships that he'd like to have that would maybe be a reason for him to stay alive, but he didn't have them. Like he's obviously very, like the janitor's very lonely and probably wished that he could have brought someone home.
Yeah.
But the only thing he was bringing home was that type of like that depression, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
makes everything.
that's interesting.
which made like interacting with his parents awkward because they didn't get it. Like they
Right.
don't understand her in the film at all, and her profession keeps changing, or like her degree.
What she's studying and what homework she has to go back to. and all
right.
that.
So I think
Yeah.
I think it's a representation of his suicidal thoughts and his depression.
Okay.
I feel like that ties in really well with the paintings too.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. Kind of how when the dad is talking about, well, how can a field be sad if there's no sad person there to tell you that it is?
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Just kind of showing, I don't know, possibly just a portrayal of mental health and kind of Jake's or not yours, the
Can we
janitor's
just
feelings that
mention-
no one else.
Yeah, can we just mention
Sure.
that all this time we've been talking about a guy in the movie called Jake? Let's just clear that out.
Yeah, let's get the elephant out.
One of the main characters in the film is called Jake, which, the character of Jake is very complicated. So, I mean, there's truth in that, but I resonated in that way, but no.
Yeah, no, and I think the painting, I think the reason why the parents can't understand his depression is because, and I think the painting, that whole painting conversation proves this, is that he's not depressed for a specific reason. And I think people really struggle with that, like people who are depressed without like a specific trauma or something that they're reacting to. Like maybe it's just a chemical imbalance and they have no like quote unquote reason to be depressed. They don't understand themselves and people around them don't either. It's like, just buck up. Like, what's your deal? So like the person in the field that would make the field sad would be that
Yeah.
like reason. But
Yeah, Carter, we were talking a lot after the movie just about, the overall vibe is very postmodern.
Very.
And the director
Yeah.
is Charlie Kaufman, who I've heard is, big on weird postmodern.
I mean, he did Eternal Sunshine.
Eternal
I can
what
speak.
now?
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which
Oh,
that's a film.
I've not
sounds
seen
weird.
it yet.
Yeah.
It's on the
I
list.
would recommend it ish. I don't know how I feel about it because it is also extremely postmodern, kind of the
Yeah.
whole thing of it plays a lot with kind of subjective morality.
Yeah.
Which
and
I
things.
should have prefaced with this just because I don't want this to be a taint on my character here. I like this movie because it's interesting, not because I believe that it's morally true or something. Like the
No,
media,
yeah.
like media
Yeah.
that I consume, that I like, I often don't actually agree with.
Yeah.
So I just want to put that out
Yeah.
there. Like I'm not.
and it's true.
I'm
Frankly,
not a postmodernist.
yeah, it's true. Frankly, this film is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's not morally good or anything like that, but it is interesting and fascinating in a weird way.
And you get more and more every time
You get
watch it. Not that you should necessarily watch it.
But like Carter, you're our resident filmmaker here, and I remember that you had some thoughts after watching that movie. So can you like take it away? Just what kind of things ran through your mind as you were watching this?
Oh boy.
I mean, you weren't a fan of the cinematography, were you?
Yeah. So from a cinematography aspect, it's very intentional with its shots in a very weird way. It almost feels like the director tries to make his shots not look good, or the DP rather, not the director. Which I guess kind of fits in with the whole meta narrative over the top. But I don't know. It just kind of killed me inside. The fact that the whole thing is shot in the 4:9 aspect ratio as well. I mean, it was intriguing, but again, felt unnecessary.
4:9.
I don't see how it serves the storytelling. So, for example, there are films that pulled it off well, like Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel, which constantly switches back. It is late, guys. It constantly switches back and forth between 16:9 and the 4:9.
Hold on, is the 4:9 the just like a phone?
No,
sort
your
of-
phone is 16:9, so a 4:9 would be more like a CRT, smaller, just kind of like a smaller 90s-ish screen kind of thing.
Yeah. With the thicker borders, sort of just black space.
Kinda. Think the difference between like a tall wallpaper iPhone photo and a photo you'd see on Instagram, how they're cropped like that.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah. I don't really know where I'm going with that train of thought anymore.
It's one of those movies where
Yeah.
you're just like, I don't know if I have any thoughts about that movie
Exactly.
other than what did I just watch?
The primary issue I had with it was just the fact that I don't view it as an effective mode of storytelling. Making it as convoluted as possible in that way, while intriguing, kind of just lent itself. I found myself kind of checking out several times throughout the film, just because which almost makes it sound like a fault of the viewer, which it probably was, but yeah.
Maybe.
And the cinematography, I feel like, didn't really pull you into the story in that same way. It kind of, which again is probably Kaufman's intention of kind of putting you in this suspended state, but it isn't really a film I felt that tried to capture your feelings and interests in.
Yeah, it's definitely that. It's definitely the sort of art that that you would find at a museum with. It's the small piece of art with the large.
Exactly, the painted word.
Yeah, with the large explanation note next to it. It's like that almost the postcard next to it explaining it is more bigger than the actual art piece itself. Not to say that, like, I would agree with Maria. While I did not like it enough to be watching it for a second, third, or fourth time, I did enjoy it to the point, like, yeah, it's intriguing. There's a lot of different hidden elements that, like, I was thinking about that movie for a week after I watched it, and it was like,
Yeah.
there's something to be said about that. Like, when you can have a movie that just like is so like, okay, I kind of need to process that just a little bit, and you're just thinking about it and kind of just going through all the hidden elements.
There is something to be said about movies that have you thinking about it for like weeks afterwards.
Yeah,
Like I'm still like trying to pick it apart, and I saw it for the first time like last month. So there's something to be said about those movies that can be commended, but you know, the conclusions that you come to, if they're not exactly the best conclusions morally, then it's just like, why am I thinking about this?
well, I would almost say that there's almost two elements of a story.
Yeah.
One is that sort of like, does it leave you chewing? Is this actual good meat? And at the same time, like, does it pull you in? Like, does it smell good? Do you want to actually partake of it? Like, does it draw you in? Kind of like Carter was saying, like, what makes a good story is something that you go into, like, that looks cool. The storyline's interesting. I want to be in the storyline, and it kind of pulls you in, and then it keeps you. And then what makes it a better story is that you keep thinking about it afterwards. So, like, things like Interstellar or Inception, movies that are I mean, obviously classic Christopher Nolan, that there's like so many intricate things that are going on in the background that you just like, if I watch this 8 times, I think I could get something new out of it each time. And you're thinking about it all the time afterwards. Like, that's a good movie because it also pulls you in. You're intrigued by it. Not to say that any movie that's lacking one or the other is a bad movie. I mean, Michael Bay is a fine director. Like, there's some cool parts to his movies. But they don't leave you like chewing on anything afterwards.
Right.
It's kind of like
They're
that
not
was cool.
philosophical.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And going back to Jake's point in kind of response to yours, Gideon, like Interstellar, I just watched that movie actually again. And like that doesn't lead you to any absolute moral truth at all.
No.
So I mean, I'm Thinking of Ending Things movie and plenty of others kind of brings you to the question of like, do the things that we consume media wise have to lead you to that kind of absolute moral truth? Which, I mean, people have different opinions.
Right.
But yeah, and I wanted to go back to what you said, Carter, about the cinematography of the film. I mean, I like it, but I'm also not versed in any kind of like, like I am not a cinematographer at all. But from a consumer perspective, because I noticed that too, like it's weird and it's unsettling and it's sort of like, meh. And I think, I don't know, it made me think of like the unreliable narrator in a book.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like the format can be kind of weird and the sentence structure can be poor and all of these things that you think are like structurally unsound. So that's kind of the vibe that I got with it. Like the color scheme too. It's like very meh. So
I did enjoy some of the connections and that just the unsettling and so like aspects of it. Like I really did enjoy it. It was intriguing. I had to pause it in the first half and was like, okay, this is what I think this movie is. For a second I thought it was just a movie about like kind of a girl kind of I don't know how to explain it. Well, I thought that it was a kind of a girl trying to like explain relationships. Like
trying to process our current one.
Yeah,
in the midst of it.
Yeah, because I mean, in the first half of the movie, you're just in the car and she's just talking about the relationship like the entire time.
Yeah,
so that would
exactly.
make
The
sense.
movie is
Yeah.
in the car.
And then
So much of it's in the car. I love it.
But and then how that like developed into, well, it's not just a girl relationship, it's like relationships in general, or rather the lack thereof, and like the desire for them. And like you even get it with a simple like stop at the Sweetums or whatever.
That place is creepy.
It is. It really is. But like they're just driving through this, you only get shots of up top, and it's like the car in this middle of the snow, and it's just the most blank space ever. And then you see this sort of like sweet, it's like a sweet smoothie like milkshake place. I don't know what
Tulsi
was
Town.
it? Tulsi
Tulsi
Town.
Town.
Tulsi
It's
Town.
Was
basically a Dairy Queen, but just the what is it called?
It was
Blizzard?
it was
the,
milkshake.
The
It's just a Blizzard.
non-copyrighted version.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a non-copyrighted Blizzard stand.
Wasn't it called like
Yeah.
a freezy or something?
They
Yeah.
were called burrs in the film.
Oh yeah, they're burrs. Burrs from
Burrs.
Tulsi Town.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So good.
Yeah. So I mean, and just like it, like talking with the girls.
Who, by the
And
way,
it was
are all
just very-
students in the high school later.
If you didn't catch it.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had to
Awesome.
watch some like YouTube videos explaining it, and that was brought up, and I was like, we never thought of that.
Wait, how so?
Like, okay, so when the janitor's in the school and he's like remembering, either he's cleaning or he's remembering past interactions with students, there's a few faces that you kind of notice, like they're turned the other direction or something. And there's
Yeah.
3 girls in those cutaway shots. And they're the girls that are in the Tulsi Town.
They come back.
So the
to
janitor's
give them the
remembering
burrs.
students and then putting
okay.
them in this Tulsi Town story
Yeah,
that
yeah.
he's making up.
See, stuff like that is like
I
it's
love
so
it.
cool, and it's like really small, intricate, but just something that like really draws your mind's eye to that, and you start thinking about it a little more. It's something you wouldn't get on the first go.
Yeah. So Maria, do you find yourself like wanting to recommend this movie to people to see, like
Not
on
necessarily.
not on the regular, but just like
On the right.
just for like the fascinating
On the
elements of
reg.
it, or just for like the thoughts that it provokes, or what sort of things run through your mind when you're like, okay, if I introduce this movie to a certain person, what do I need to let them know before watching it? Do you tell them anything?
No, I definitely do because, like, it's a questionable movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the first, I haven't recommended it very much actually. I just thought it would, like, we could talk about this for a while, so that's why
Yeah.
I recommended it to
Oh,
you
it's
guys for a
definitely
podcast
talkable.
episode.
Yeah.
I think it lends to pretty cool conversation. Usually, what I say is like, this is a movie I really like. Watch it at your own discretion.
Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, it's not explicit or anything, and I mean, I want to be clear about that. Like, there's not really skip scenes.
There's some language.
There's
and
some language.
suggestive lines, but
Yeah, but there's not like any nudity or anything. But
yes, there is.
What?
Yes, there is.
yes.
yeah. There's sorry.
Yes,
Yeah, there's the
there
naked
is.
guy at the end. I forget about that because it's like the
It
back
was,
of an
it
old
was
guy.
at that point
It's
where
just the-
Gideon
yeah.
and I were like, this movie is so weird.
It is. Anyway,
It's like-
so I like it because it makes you think, and it's not what you expect. I think like.
Not at all.
I mean, I watch a lot of movies and I watch a lot of TV shows, and things can end up getting predictable, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But
It's true.
I enjoy it when there's a movie that I'm like, what is going on? What is happening?
This
and that
movie is
movie
anything but
does
predictable.
that. Like that movie, you're reeling the entire time.
Yeah.
And I love that. An aspect that I really enjoy about the movie, and this is like really particular, but the rate of conversation between Jake and the girl, like there's no breaths in between. Like she'll be talking and then he talks over her, which is my first clue that they were the same person.
Uh-huh.
But Yeah.
That's fair.
So, and I love the color scheme. There's like 2 colors.
All 2 of them.
Yeah, I actually like the cinematography, but I'm an amateur.
That's what cinematography is aimed for, though. It's aimed to get people who don't know anything about cinematography to be like, oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could be completely off base here.
Yeah, I don't know.
And yeah, the color grading is fantastic. I will give it that.
I did enjoy
and the costumes. Oh,
True. Like,
costumes are good.
but I enjoyed some of the old motifs. Like if you watch that movie and look for some of the old motifs from like classic musicals or
A lot of references to Oklahoma.
yeah.
Which is not in the book, by the way.
No, but
The
like-
book was written first, and there's no mention of any kind of musical in it, which I thought was weird because that's such a big part of the movie.
Right. But it's like I don't know, it's just interesting things. So you have like pan shots or you have like flat shots which feel Wes Anderson-y, or you have
They lack the
moments-
symmetry.
Yeah, but
Do
it's
they
kind of on
always?
purpose.
I feel like she's kind of in the center. Like in the
But
house.
they're
like
usually off balance intentionally.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that they did that completely on purpose, but off balance in order to make you uncomfortable,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right.
But it has that Wes Anderson feel. Slightly.
It's just like sinister Wes Anderson.
Yeah, that's a very good description.
Sinister Wes Anderson.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna
Well,
pitch this movie.
it's kind of the same-
because like nothing happens, right? I feel like that's a good description of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's not only just Wes Anderson vibes you get out of it, because they're also borrowing Oklahoma, like the weird, like dream shot. There is a moment of that when they're like dancing through the halls.
Oh yeah.
I really liked that scene.
What is going on?
Oh, it's
And it's
kinda
there's
cool.
no story to it. They're just dancing. But there's
Is there no story to
no,
it?
there
There's a
is
story to it.
there's a story
There
to
is
it.
some-
You can
The
feel
story
some of the
is
tension,
suicide.
right? But there's not
unfortunately.
it is telling a story, but it's not like there's no words. It's just dancing. They're trying to convey that. And like you see that in not just Oklahoma, but many of the old classic musicals. Like this moment where it's just dancing and you're
It's
just like,
called the
what's
Dream
going on?
Ballet. It's
Dream
a really
Ballet.
interesting thing to research. I almost did a paper on it. It's
Yeah.
cool stuff.
That's something I did want to ask about because I've not seen any of these old musicals at
Oh,
all, which
they're
I know
really-
is a travesty.
They have
Oklahoma
them-
in particular.
they have them
Yeah,
all over.
of them have it. Singing in the Rain has one. Oklahoma has one. I'm completely blanking on musicals right now, but they
Sound
they
of,
all
best
have.
ones.
Sound of Music has one.
Yeah, and
I've
it's just
seen
like a
that.
30-minute
Hamilton
number.
probably has one.
Sound of Music. Sound of Music
love
does
Sound
have
of
well, does it? It has moments in each kind of song where they stop singing and they kind of just dance. But there is a moment when they are singing. They are singing and they're kind of dancing, but it's just this moment of they're in the gazebo and it's just them and it's very dreamy. It just explodes with this sort of like, what is that? That glow
Yeah.
aspect on the in the filming, and it's just that's all you can pretty much describe it with. But there's elements in each of these like musicals that there's this singular moment that's the Dream Ballet,
Mm-hmm.
and then they tie that in, and they finish with the climax musical, and he's singing.
What would the Dream Ballet be in Sound of Music? Is that the
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Sound
because
of
the
Music?
two dances that are coming out
That's what
in
I'm
my
saying.
mind is Maria with Captain Von Trapp when they dance, and then the other iconic one is the 16 going on 17 dance. Would it be one of those?
Usually
No,
a Dream
like
Ballet.
like
Probably
I
the
said,
Maria
like I
and
said, there's
Von
there's an
Trapp one.
element
Okay.
in kind of some of the songs. So
Okay.
16 going on 17, there's a moment when they stop singing and they're just dancing.
When she's like going
And
around
you-
on the benches.
Yeah, so you just there's that moment. But the real moment of the film is when they confess their love to each other. They are singing in that. So it's not a true ballet moment, but
yeah.
because they are singing and they're not really dancing around, but it's the moment when it just you get the same vibe of like everything kind of goes dreamscape. So it's everything's kind of misty and glowy and nothing's real. You don't feel realish. And then they have just this moment of they're staring at each other and you just get that shot of them and they're looking in between and they kiss.
So it's not like it doesn't feel real, but it's pivotal to the story. At
Right.
The same
There's
time. Okay.
Yeah,
that
it's
makes
not
sense.
like there's no action going on really. It's like it It almost, I would almost would say they are progressing the story, but it doesn't feel like you can feel the story progress.
Like, is it a turning point just without the climax at the same time? Because that happens in stories all the time.
It happens. So this happens in opera all the time, where you just have this moment where it's just they're dancing and they're trying to tell the story, and it's like a rest moment. If Ian was here, he could explain this a little bit better. But it comes from that, and it's music, or sorry, directors trying to bring some of that old opera into this more modern media of film.
Because if it's like a restful turning point,
it's not. Most times it's.
Is it not?
Sometimes
restful?
It's not restful because Oklahoma, it's the moment when he's wrestling for her.
Yeah.
Like when the villain is trying to get the girl back, and then you have to have the hero come in and like kill him, pretty much.
So it's a turning point. In dance.
It is.
They always,
that makes sense with.
They
this
never
movie.
progress the plot, but they kind of create resolutions in characters' minds. So that's why they usually happen in a dream. Like Oklahoma, she goes to sleep, she wakes up, and that's the moment when it really. That's how the film solidifies. Like, oh, she actually does love him.
Right.
For Singing in the Rain, that whole thing is kind of just. It kind of, if I interpret it correctly, solidifies his view of kind of the corporate machine. None of these things actually progress the plot. It's kind of just a break from the main plot. And it is kind of just fleshing out these characters' beliefs a bit more through an interesting visual art.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. It's a resolution in the character's mind, because there's really no other way to put that.
Yeah.
So it's like having that sort of narrator in the background, but instead of with a voice and audio, you have it more visual.
Okay, that makes sense. That applies perfectly to this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Cool.
Well, speaking of this movie, should we bring this in for a landing by doing what we traditionally do?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So excited.
Let's bring in these 1-star reviews. A lot of these. So some of the review page that I'm on is IMDb. And so sometimes they have a subject heading and then the actual body of text. All of the subject headings are just puns of the title, are just variations of that. I'm thinking of canceling Netflix. I'm thinking of never watching a movie again. I'm thinking of taking a nap. Yeah,
those are good.
Yeah,
solid roasts.
So,
I respect it.
Yeah, a lot of them are critiques that you would expect. I hated every moment of this excruciating movie. This is interesting. I wish I could unwatch a film. If there was an ability to, not waste, my time with this movie, or if I could unsee everything that just happened for the past 2 hours and 14 minutes.
It is a long movie too.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I'm thinking of ending watching movies for a month.
These are I respect.
Yeah, this one is interesting. This is a film for critics. The film will make absolutely no sense to the average viewer, excruciating to sit through.
Does that make me an above average viewer?
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
I guess.
I take that as a compliment. I'm new to the movie watching game. I haven't been watching films for that long. I started
either that
this
or
year.
you're just a critic, so take that how you will.
Both are compliments. I love either of those. Okay. I'll be Ego, Ratatouille. I'll be him.
Yeah, if you watch this movie expecting to be entertained, you're probably going to be pretty disappointed.
It's true.
Yeah, that's true.
I bet even the critics admit that.
I was entertained. I don't know what that says about me.
You were entertained.
Hot.
Okay, well,
your heart.
This was like the first.
Roasted on a spit.
It's so good. Surprise me. This was like the first weird movie I ever watched, though. This came out during COVID, and so I was quarantined at home.
Yeah,
and I was like, what do I do?
This is the ultimate COVID movie.
It is so good, but I was very unexperienced with watching any film like this that wasn't straightforward. My favorite movie before this is not my favorite movie, but my favorite movie at the time was The Italian Job. I liked that kind of thing.
Well, hold on. Which one?
The Jason Statham one.
New or old?
Jason Statham.
Oh my word.
There's a different one?
There's an older one. It's better.
Oh my gosh.
It's so much
so
better.
Excited.
It's a comedy.
Yay.
It's good. It's really good.
There's a cutaway shot of Spider-Man in the new one, by the way. Anyway.
What?
All right.
Continue.
Yeah.
That's a story for another day.
Yeah. This one's interesting because sometimes you can tell the quality of a review by the username that's used. A lot of these are fairly normal. Like when we did the Puss in Boots movie that came out pretty recently, we both loved that movie, and apparently a lot of other people did. But all the 1-star reviews were from usernames like Long Skinny Viper or just like Emo Turkey, something like that.
I would trust Emo Turkey's opinion with my life.
Really?
Of course.
Maybe we can. I don't know.
Emo Turkey.
We can
knows
have
what he's
Emo
talking
Turkey
about.
on. We can have Emo Turkey on the podcast, and we'll introduce you.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Emo Turkey.
but
Emo
this-
Turkey,
yeah.
if you're listening, we want you.
Hit us up, Emo Turkey.
Please call me.
Yeah, yeah. This subject heading is just why.
That's valid. Yeah.
Why?
That is.
Yeah. I mean, this is a very psychological film in a lot of ways. And, you know, he admits that, but he says this one is like a different level of psychological in that you become manic after watching it.
It's true. I am now thinking of ending things.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You come away from that movie.
No.
Yeah.
Especially during COVID, man. You're like, oh, what do I do?
Yes.
I can't imagine watching this movie, you know, during COVID. You know,
Did it come out?
you're depressed enough. You watch this movie and you're like, oh, I'm better now.
Well, that resolves things.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Did it come out at the beginning of COVID?
It was in 2021, I think.
Oh, wow.
So I think it was later.
On
I actually,
the cusp.
I don't know. I think it was 2021.
Something like that.
I was having a good time in quarantine though, because it didn't affect me a ton. Like my
That makes
grandpa
one
and
of
stuff.
us.
Yeah, no, like I understand it affected a lot of people in terrible ways. It did not really touch me, except I couldn't go on a senior trip. Oh no. But I just like was cuddled up in blankets for 50 days in my house, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Oh man, this is great. The subject lining just says no. And the body of text just says, don't even. Hell no. And that's it. That's the review. Honestly,
Deep
if that doesn't
man.
tell you what the movie is
Deep
all
man.
about, then I don't
What's
know
one
what
of the
will.
5 stars?
5 stars?
I know this totally breaks your tradition.
There's 10 stars. It's out of 10.
Oh, well, what's the top? What's like the first top review? What do they have
First
to say?
top. I'll check.
Is it like this is a scam? I actually hated it.
I'm
There've
doing this.
There've
Yeah.
been people with like
they're just
1
trolls.
stars.
They're all trolls.
All the 5 stars are trolls. Or 10 stars. Sorry.
All right, this is a nostalgic
10
film.
stars. This seems so
This is the nostalgic.
One of these
film?
says this is a nostalgic film. I'm like, what is your life like?
What?
So
Maybe
that
because it
this film
references
is-
Takes me
old
back when I had
musicals.
when I thought of ending things.
That's a really weird response to this movie. I
Yeah.
do not trust that guy.
It's like this is not a film, it's poetic. I'm like, what does that mean? Like this is like a poetry experience, not a film experience.
that
Which
actually is true.
it's
Yep.
fair because
yeah, I actually like that.
there's the poem that she says at the beginning that takes up like a good 15 minutes.
Bone dog.
Bone Dog is
Bone Dog.
such a fun poem. It's also not in the book, which I was kind of sad.
Yeah.
I'm not
Did
gonna
they-
say it's a
Did they
good
write it
poem.
for the film?
Yeah.
Wow.
It lays out the framework for the whole movie.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
I'm not gonna
delve
good
into that, but yeah.
soundy. Like I'm not gonna claim whether it's a good poem or not. I'm not here to do that. But it
Yeah.
ooh.
A lot of these 10-star
Good
reviews are
sounding.
just like, it made me feel emotions that I've never felt before. You know, it's just like really beautiful and sad in a different way. Yeah. It's hard to watch, yes, but that doesn't mean it's trash. It's a deep dive into the dark sides of life. It really shows you that the scariest thing to be is alive.
Interesting.
Yep.
Someone get this man help.
Yeah. Do we need to call
I mean,
a
that's not-
therapist for this
That's
guy?
not
or-
true. Like if you don't have like
Yeah, but
the Lord,
Right.
your life
Valid.
is so scary.
Valid.
It even is scary with him, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
like
a
those.
little less so, but
I don't
yes.
like the nostalgic response.
Yeah.
Unless that's talking about like, oh, it referenced old musicals, cool.
Yeah, or maybe he read the book
When he
and
was
was just like,
3.
this is nostalgic of when I read the book last week.
Ah, my sweet childhood.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I don't know what the takeaway from this episode is other
don't know
than,
either.
you know,
Hey,
it's a
maybe that-
fascinating movie. I don't know if we recommend it,
It
or
follows
whether or
his-
not you should, but
It follows the theme of the movie.
Maybe here's the takeaway. Here's my tip to
Please.
the audience.
please.
Just be okay with consuming media outside of your comfort zone. It doesn't have to be this movie,
Sure.
but like
It's true.
don't like not read or watch something. I mean, it depends on where you are in life, but like
Watch something other than Christian movies.
If you're please, if you're
That's the takeaway.
yeah, watch something other than Christian movies and like read other things other than Christian books. Like you can have very like postmodern whatever unchristian authors write or create works of art, and it might not mean that you apply it to your life, but it's still worth consuming sometimes.
Yeah.
Get out of your comfort zone.
It's called
folks.
journalism.
It's called journalism.
Educating yourself.
That's good. I like that. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you guys next time. This is In the Garden with Jake Hughes and Gideon Marlatt, and our guests Maria Hanson and our producer Carter Brown.
Adios.